I'd like to call the October 23rd, 2024 Town Board meeting to order. Ms. Markle, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Dodson?
Present.
Mr. Mastriani?
Present.
Mrs. Galucci?
Present.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Galucci?
Present.
Mr. Schlage?
Present.
And Mrs. Collins?
Present.
5 present.
Thank you, Ms. Markle. A quorum is present. Please join me in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. And Mr. Dodson, would you lead us?
Sounds good. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, and liberty and justice for all.
Tonight, we have a very special presentation. It's to Mr. Brandon Quick, and he has achieved the honor of Eagle Scout. And I know that is a very hard achievement to make. So I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Derry and to Councilmember Schlage, and we'll continue with the presentation.
So,
Ethan? Yes, sir. Yeah, come on up and.
yes, Mom and Dad,
Yeah. Yep.
take your time.
Thank you.
Need an arm? There you go.
So the town was approached for Brendan to do a project, and so it trickled down to me, and we came up with duck boxes for the Great Flats Aquifer, and bluebird boxes at your choosing. And so these are the products that he did. He did 20 of each.
Yep, I did 20 red duck houses and 20 bluebird houses.
Very nice.
So I only know a little bit about the Eagle Scout thing just from my son, who's young, but I know what a huge commitment and dedication it takes. And it's a team approach. And this is Brandon's great paperwork, 27 pages or so, just for this project. So it's almost like a thesis statement for a PhD, you know? Listen, I'm in awe of the stuff that you guys do, and it's just a huge commitment, and you really should be ecstatic and honored that you accomplished this. I know what accomplishment it is, what leadership and everything that you do to go through this, and obviously support as parents. So, so I have a here you go, Mom.
Sure.
I wasn't going to read all 27 pages, but anyways. So I want to read the commendation to you. So whereas Brendan Quick of Rotterdam, New York, is a member of the prestigious International Organization of Boy Scouts and a member of the Boy Scouts of America Mohawk District Troop 3023, and whereas Brandon has progressed through the ranks of Scouting and Eagle Scout, having earned 24 merit badges.
Wow.
They're all there. Whereas for his Eagle Scout project, Brandon led and I'm not a good reader. I'm so sorry. You want to read? This is my first combination. I haven't done this before. So lucky you. So you did again 20 bluebird houses, 20 duck houses, and placed them in several parts of Rotterdam. You're a graduate from Shellmont High School, where you were involved in numerous clubs, organizations within the school, including being a phenomenal bowler that has signed with Hudson Valley Community College. Congratulations. While in pursuit of his carrying on his scouting knowledge and experience throughout the years, Brendan has made it a life goal to obtain a degree in forestry. Fantastic.
Very nice. Yep.
You're going to start to pick her brain, right? You brought up, has brought honor upon himself, Boy Scout Troop 3023, the scouting leadership, the town of Rotterdam, his family, evidencing the trust and highest traditions of scouting. Therefore, I, Molly Collins. Wow.
She's grown.
Gained some weight. Supervisor of the town of Rotterdam, on behalf of the town board, the town administration, the town residents, do hereby extend our congratulations and commend Brendan Quick in his extraordinary achievement and the example has become for others in scouting to follow. So this is for you, my friend.
I just want to thank my family for my support. I wouldn't have been able to do this without them. I wouldn't have been able to do it without Ethan and pushing me to get this done. And just my troop to be there for me every step of the way.
Very nice. Congratulations.
Mom, Dad?
Right?
You guys kneel down below with the bird houses.
Hard to squeeze anywhere.
Put it down on the ground.
Right over here. Here you go. Go on this way. Kneel right down there. There you go.
Are you doing panoramic?
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Great. Nice job.
Thank you.
Just a couple. Thanks for your help.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you again for helping.
Nice job. Great work.
Congratulations. It's quite an achievement.
So you all can stay for the excitement of the meeting, or you can head out and go do something
You gotta take care
fun.
of mom.
Yeah, go rest, please.
I'll be signing up for some reading classes with you.
Come on in anytime.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Toastmasters.
Thank you all.
Have a great night. Enjoy.
I only made it to that. It is.
Especially your purse. I want to see what's inside. You got to like survive from here inside. I do.
All right, so now we will start with privilege of the floor. I'd like to remind everybody before we start. Oh, well, I was going to do that. Okay. Before we start, that you get 4 minutes to speak. I will be timing you at around 3.5 minutes. My hand will go up and you're doing one of these. And if you could wrap up your remarks, I'd appreciate it, okay? So Ms. Marco, is there anyone who wishes to speak?
Yes, Dan Marcel.
Good evening. My name is Dan Marcello, CSCA Union President for the town of Rotterdam. A couple meetings ago, we had many of our members here in support of our efforts to negotiate a contract. I would like to really thank the town board and Supervisor Collins for working with us to get this accomplished. We have many good employees who do many good things and work for our town. Again, thank you for allowing me to speak on behalf of our members. See, Molly, you don't even have to raise your hand. That's all I got. Good evening and thank you.
Mary Berry.
Mary Berry, 1580 Upper Grade Road. I will disclose that I am the Stormwater Program Coordinator for the town, so I am a town employee. And you know that 4 minutes is nothing for me. So just, tell me shut up. Just like the other day in the office, shut up. I just wanted to talk about the Juraca Park tonight. I know that a resolution was passed to do a master plan back in March. And I just wanted to ask that maybe we consider doing a master plan for all the parks, not just Juraca Park, and maybe for a master plan for the parks in general. And I just want to ask that maybe, working in town hall, I try to stay in my lane for parks, but the trees always drag me another way. But I hope that people will bring in the park staff and talk to them. I mean, we talk about team building today as a management strategy, and it would be nice to hear from the park staff what they think of this master plan, and before we put anything, implement the plans. discuss it, and maybe some of these ideas aren't the best location. And I know that the Buffalo Maritime is coming through for the 200th anniversary of the Erie Canal next fall. I kind of selfishly wanted to make sure that Kiwanis looked really spiffy, and maybe they would stop here and honor us for that. So I'm just asking that maybe we slow down a little bit, take a look, and step back and do an overall master plan on the parks instead of just this kind of knee-jerk thing. Years back, there was a big push, and I haven't heard anybody push for a dog park, but there was a big push for a skateboard park. And it was put in Esposito, Fort Hunter Park. And the neighbors, being one of them, it was a disaster in a short term because it got vandalized, and it just wasn't, to me and our neighborhood, put in the right spot. I didn't care about a skateboard park. Let the kids have a park. Let them have fun. But I think it was put in the wrong location. So that's all I'm asking is when we locate these things, these amenities that we want to do for our parks, just make sure that it's the right location and listen to the neighbors and listen to the park staff because they know the deal. We have some very experienced staff and they know what parks would be good for what. And just make sure that we're building a team on these implementation tasks. Okay? You didn't yell.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you.
Timothy Keenan.
Good evening. My name's Tim Keenan, 214 South Westcott Road. I wasn't planning on speaking at first tonight, and I was going to attack Mr. Mastriani, but maybe it's God's divine will. But see those Boy Scouts sing out there and the good they do for their community without any politics in mind whatsoever was inspiring to me personally. And I think we all should live and try to act more like Boy Scouts because I know they follow Scout law. That Scout law is something that everybody in this country and government should follow to the T. And I think this country would be a better place to live. That's my time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Kimberly Marion. For Warren Upstart.
Hello, my name is Kimberly Bollard. I reside at 3562 Gilderland Ave. I was asked to come here. I was told about this meeting, I really wasn't aware of it, by Mr. Mastriani. My property floods every time it rains. It floods into my basement. I have to sub pump it. I have to get down there with a broom. I have to sweep it out. It's been going on since I bought the house for 5 years. It's been going on before that with the previous owner. I wasn't told when I bought the house that the basement actually floods. I was told that it gets damp on one side because everyone says, well, why did you buy a house that flooded? Obviously, I didn't know that. I have 3 neighbors. I thought one neighbor was going to come tonight and speak. I don't know. But I have 3 neighbors that I'm making very upset because I do on my property, it floods like a lake. I get ducks and everything. And I sub pump it from the middle of my property to where there should be a galley, a trench, however you guys want to call it, that takes the rainwater back across my property, back across my next door neighbor's property, and into the pond. I know I've come down here a few times over this. Mary Berry is aware of this. I don't know how to get the city to come out, or the town to come out, who's responsible for this. It's rainwater, it's nothing I'm doing, and I don't know how to fix the problem. So I just wanted to know if someone could get on board, and maybe Mastriani, like I said, he did come out and speak with the neighbors and speak with I, and see if we could come up with a solution to fix the rainwater coming in from Gilderland Ave onto my property. That's all I have.
Thank you. Thank you. Brenda Terosian.
I think you guys know what I'm going to talk about. There's 3 things that needs to be talked about. The main thing is Mr. Mastriani. What he did, and we saw it on the news, he took United States postal property out of the mailbox, stuffs it in his, and puts his in. So I'm not too sure if Mr. Mastriani realizes that that's a violation of the Postal Service and that you can go to jail for 5 years for doing that. So if you're doing that, if you are doing that on your own, God knows how many other people you've done it to. And I've asked for your resignation and the board's resignation for the last 2 years. If this board does not do a resolution asking explicitly for his resignation from this board, and it doesn't do it, and if Mr. Mastriani doesn't have the wherewithal to do it, then I will call for a resignation of every single person on this board. We're supposed to put our trust and our faith in you people. You just broke the trust, major big time. How could you do? How can you do that? What's the explanation? Do you people, when you put names in to run for election, is a prerequisite is to how to cheat and how to lie so you can get into office? Is this what this is all about? There's other things that we need to talk about. Whispering Pines, our budget, which you guys said we're under the 2% cap. I don't know, this year, my budget went up, my tax bill went up 6%. So I'm not too sure what you guys are doing. I don't know, I don't trust any of you anymore. I was willing to give Mr. Slag a 6-month reprieve. That's gone. And Mr. Mastriani, you are the same person 2 weeks ago. And I sat out there while you were talking to the people. But I see you looking, Mr. Dodson, where you called the builder of Whispering Pines. This is not a laughing matter. Don't let me get started on you, Mr. Dodson. You told out there to a group of people, and I hung around just to hear what you're saying, and you called the builder, a crooked builder. Who the heck are you to say that when you're not any better? And how are our kids that are growing up, how are they supposed to, I wish those kids stayed to see how government does not work in Rotterdam. Not only that, I do FOIA, I don't get any responses back to what I'm asking for. This is not happening to me, it's happening to a whole bunch of people. Yeah, I'm pissed off. He broke the law. If he does not resign on his own, and if this board does not ask for his resignation, I will come back again. And I will ask for every one of your resignation. Didn't like you in the beginning, Mr. Yanni. I always thought something was a little not cool. You stole out of a resident's mailbox. How? And you know what? Those flyers you guys put in our mailbox, whether it's you or Santa Barbara, you know what most people do with that? They throw it in the garbage. Why would you risk? You're golden boy here. Why would you risk losing your political career over one stupid flyer that got caught this time? I like your gavel. I'm going to buy you a new one just for me with my name on it. Mr. Mastriani, residents of Rotterdam need you to resign. Will you stop it with that, please?
That's it, but I have one email that a resident wanted me to read. Dear Mr. Joseph Mastriani, I'm writing this open letter to you today to express my deep concern about your recent behavior as a respected member of the town board and candidate for assemblyman in the 111th District of New York. Your actions have fallen far short of the standards that we expect from our elected officials. I urge you to take one of the following actions. 1, resign from your official town board position. 2, withdraw your candidacy for assemblyman in the 111th District of New York. 3, issue a sincere video apology to the voters of Santa Barbara, acknowledging your inappropriate behavior and demonstrating genuine remorse. A pre-written statement that attempts to downplay or justify your actions will not be sufficient. The party of law and order must hold itself accountable to the highest standards of conduct. I hope that you will take my concerns seriously and take appropriate action to address this matter. Sincerely, Robert Gigliotti.
There's no one else, Mrs.
That's it.
Okay. We have closing privilege of the floor, and we'll now start with our resolutions. Our first resolution is Resolution 399 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
Accepting town board meeting minutes.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Next resolution is Resolution 400 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To schedule a special meeting of the town board.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mrs. Galucci. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Dodson. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 401 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To approve changes made to the 2025 tentative budget and to establish the 2025 preliminary budget and call for a public hearing on the 2025 preliminary town budget.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 402 of the year 2021. Clerk will read.
Establishing water sewer rents and contract assessments for the year 2024 for the water sewer districts.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a
I'll
second?
second.
Second by Mr. Schlad. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 403 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Bach Veterinarian Clinic.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Schlad. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
Okay, and Mrs. Collins, I'm sorry.
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 404 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To declare one police vehicle obsolete and authorize them to be auctioned.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 405 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To authorize the supervisor to execute and sign a memorandum of agreement with the Civil Service Employees Association, CSEA.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Mastriani. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Schlad. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 406 of the year 2024. The clerk will read.
To accept the Juraca Park Master Plan created by Land Art Studio and NY Landscape Architectural, PLLC.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a mo, go ahead.
I was listening to Mary. I also agree that we need a master plan for all of the parks and incorporate that. So I feel like we should table this to discuss that more if we can, if it's at all possible.
Do you want to make a motion to table?
Make a motion to table.
I'd like to make a motion to table. I think this needs to have more thought applied to it.
Okay.
So we have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
So I can talk a little bit about this. So
Well,
this is,
actually, we gotta finish
oh,
this.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry.
Did someone make a
I'll
second?
second the motion.
Okay, motion to table by Mrs. Calucci, and it was seconded by Mr. Mastriani. All right,
I'll take-
Call vote, yeah.
Yes, Mr. Dodson, to table?
I'm gonna say no.
Mr. Mastriani, to table?
I think we could still proceed with some of the agenda items without tabling it, but I think it makes it a lot easier if we do accept this master plan. So I am going to vote no.
Mrs. Calucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlage?
No.
And Mrs. Collins?
I would like to see a plan go in for everything, but I know that we should go ahead with this, so I'm going to vote no.
So there's 4 no and 1 yes.
So the motion to table is
It's not tabled.
failed. Can we
Failed.
go back to the motion on, to bring it forward?
Correct.
So, is there any other further discussion?
Yeah, so I would just say, and the Parks Committee, this is something that was brought forward by the Parks Committee, which is why we're adopting the plan just for Jaraka, but we have had discussions. We did meet with Chad, and we met with Jim, and the Parks Committee, the head of the Parks Committee. We had a productive meeting, and it's really, Chad is a wealth of knowledge. Believe me, he's great. So this is just for Jaraka Park. We do want to come up with comprehensive plans for the other parks, so it's not that we haven't discussed it. It's just this was one as, I guess, sort of a pilot, and if you look at it, again, one fell swoop, we can't do everything there, but we can take parts of it from a budgetary standpoint that we can afford and then start to move forward on those projects, sort of like a modularized part of the park. So initially, I think Chad thought we were doing the whole thing, which was never the case, So our plan is to come up with a plan for all of the parks, and that was the discussion that we had with them. So, I mean, moving forward, absolutely, we'll keep having regular meetings with the people involved, which is something we definitely want to do. So I think maybe some stuff wasn't known or aware, and it's like we're moving forward with this. Like that's not the case.
I think Mary's suggestion of having a master plan for all the parks, I think is a terrific suggestion.
Yeah.
And we've been having a lot of discussions at DPW about, how the town is going to budget and administer park services for the town. We have a lot of properties and very limited crew that's very busy in the summer and the fall. But we have to think about how we are going to create a vision, and I think that's a terrific idea. This was kind of a prototype process that we took forward here, and the Parks Committee was terrific in offering insight as to what can be realized in Jaraka Park. It's a beautiful park, and there's a little bit of massaging that needs to be done, for the town administration going forward. And I think if we just keep our eyes on what we're doing, make sure we have the resources committed, and move at whatever pace we can. We won't be able to finance any major projects overnight, but I think that this is a great format that we can work with, that we can go out to bid on some of these projects. It gives the Parks Advisory Committee different avenues to weigh in terms of what should we prioritize with the limited funding that we have in each given year. And I support this master plan, and I support the continuing the conversations at DPW and amongst the board about how we can administer all the parks in the town going forward.
Any other discussion?
I do not support this. It's $596,000. And when I look at this, it's for an additional pavilion. We've got a safety, the Jungle Dome, which is $70,000. This is one part of many parks. So if we're going to create a master plan, I believe that the right thing to do is exactly what Mary Berry said, and it's to look at all of the parks, and then you put a master plan together, and then once that's passed, then you can pick and choose. But there should have been a deeper dive into this, and we really should have met with more people before deciding on these items. But as I go through this park, I'm all for improving the parks. Honestly, I think they all need some attention and love, but it's an exorbitant amount of money, and I don't know that we did a deep dive here, and so I can't personally say yes to this.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, just to reiterate, the total sum of everything within the master plan is roughly estimated at $600,000, but that's not an expenditure that we're authorizing. We are just authorizing the layout of this plan and what's involved in it. As Attorney Heinel said in our agenda session, master plans can be amended, can be adjusted, and until we actually commit the resources to doing any of the specific projects in the master plan, there is still time to evaluate what we do. And certainly, we don't want to prioritize one park over another. But I think having a plan, it helps, focus our vision on what exactly needs to be done.
I thought that from everything that I had heard and talked to different board members, that this was kind of like the test park. The installation of the pickleball field or the pickleball court, that was something that a lot of our residents had wanted. And then also one of the other things was a dog park. So I took this as this was going to be our test park, so to speak, to see how it went, to see where the demand was, to see how it came to be. So as far as I know, by passing this resolution, it's not like we're going to commit $600,000 to any one park. We've done it in stages. I do believe that what Mary says is true, to evaluate all our parks and see what's needed, and each park is located in a different part of the town. Like she said with the skateboard park, perhaps since Mary and I talked this afternoon, and she said that a lot of people from Shellmont were really the ones who wanted the skateboard park. So where did we put it? We put it at the far eastern part of town, which meant all the parents had to bring their children from the Shellmont area all the way across town through our lovely Curry Road, street that's got traffic 10 times a day, and put it there. So I agree with that we should have a master plan for everything, but like I said, I thought that this was really supposed to be a test to see whether or not, I believe we turned the tennis courts, did we, Joe, into the pickleball courts? Yeah. To see how expensive it would be. It was kind of a test to see how it was going and what the expense would be. But I'm in favor of this only because I do not think that it means that by tonight's resolution, we're going to spend $600,000 in Dragon Park.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing I just would add, and I don't want to belabor it anymore, is that, we get a parks budget yearly of what we can spend in those parks. So we will spend within that budget. Now, if we got a grant to do some of this other stuff, that would be fantastic, but I don't know how we would ever spend that amount of money on a park or that amount of money on 3 parks. The money's just not there. So it's just almost, like I said, a modularized part of the park of what we can afford and what we can do in a particular year. We can say, okay, well, we can afford the cornholes, which it says they're $6,000, but again, that's high. So we can get that in this year, or we can get a fence in for something else this year. So, and I know Chad has had some discussion around playground equipment needed to be updated in all the parks, which we completely agree with. So again, the dollar amount is what came with the plan, but that was never the discussion of spending that amount of money in one fell swoop. It's just not fiscally possible.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion?
Make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Schlott. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes, to accept the plan.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes, this will enable us to proceed with some of the proposals in the plan more easily, so my vote is yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
No.
Mr. Schlag?
Yes.
Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
4 yes and 1 no.
Okay, resolution passes. Resolution 407 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Lavella for professional engineering services on the proposed formation of Sewer District Number 2, extension number 18.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second? I'll second. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Excuse me. Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 408 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To accept the 2022 audit report.
Is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
I'd like to just extend some appreciation to our comptroller. Allison's here tonight. Has worked very hard since she's been in her new role as comptroller, and we very much appreciate your hard work in pushing this report forward to us. Thank you.
So that yes?
That is a yes.
Okay. Mr. Mastriani?
Yes, I'm very happy to have 2022 finally closed out.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 409 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To negotiate and execute an agreement with Rand Window Fashions for the purchase of window shades in Town Hall.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah.
Do I have a vote?
I do have a question. So where is this money coming from a budgetary standpoint? Was it part of the renovations?
Yes.
Okay, so
It's a capital project.
it was in the capital project for renovations. Okay, just want to make sure. Thank you.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Mastriani. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. Resolution 410 of the year 2024, the clerk will read.
To amend Resolution 393.24 of the year 2024, to negotiate and execute an agreement with KV Engineering and Architectural, PC, for professional engineering services related to the leak detection survey for Water District 5, Phases 3, 4, and 5.
Okay, is there any discussion? Do I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson. Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Galucci. On the question, clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Mastriani?
Yes.
Mrs. Galucci?
Yes.
Mr. Schlad?
Yes.
And Mrs. Collins?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution passes. That concludes our resolutions for this evening. Do any of the board members have anything they wish to say under liaison reports?
Molly, I have a few items. For internal collaboration, I've been meeting with every team in the building. So I've been able to meet with IT and the watershed, the assessor, the town clerk, receiver of taxes, planning, and tomorrow I'll spend the day with our parks department, just touring all of the parks to just see exactly what they need so I can see it for myself. As far as the energy committee goes, we meet tomorrow, October 24th. We're gathering information from a lot of different entities so that we can create battery storage code to review with the board. This is, again, a volunteer committee. They've done a great job. And they take this seriously because these are, you know, as many of you know, the state is really has quite an emphasis on this. So I'm really happy with the way they're proceeding. You know, we've had people from the public come and sit with us and listen while we're working, and I'm really pleased with how this is moving along. In November, you know, one of the groups that is really concerned about battery storage are the firemen, and I think if you all watch the news, you can see that, you know, in many cases, especially with the hurricanes that happened, a lot of the cars and a lot of the battery storage, you know, it catches on fire, and it's causing quite a dilemma for our fire staff. So we are going to, in November, go to a training that's put on by Homeland Security. And so a lot of the members will come and we'll just learn more about it. And that's what we've been doing all along. We learn, we develop code, we learn more. Local events, on October 7th, we had the Palazzo over near Hamburg Street. We did a ribbon cutting, and that business has been phenomenal. Maple Ski Ridge, we had a fall festival, and again, phenomenal. The Autumn Glow is in Rotterdam Junction, closes on November 3rd, so if anybody wants to attend, now's the time. And then we have the Rotterdam Holiday Festival on December 8th. So those are all part of economic development, community. And then is another entity within economic development. I continue to meet with, the Association of Towns, Metroplex, the Chamber, Discover Schenectady. We have one-on-ones. They've been phenomenal about answering any questions I might have as we move forward, and how we can build a bridge and a partnership between our town and each one of those groups. And we're also working with some nonprofits to run some leadership programs with those in need. So I think that's really important that we do a reach out and we see how we can help the community. Yesterday was a phenomenal day. We did another event called Feet on the Street, and I took the chamber with me and some ambassadors, and we went from business to business over in the Hamburg area, and just spent time with businesses to see, how can we help you? What are some of the issues that you're facing? And it's really great to bring the chamber with me, because I am constantly seeing them solve problems right in the moment. So it's powerful. It's very powerful. And I just want to remind everybody, as we're walking through these businesses, just if you can, shop local, because we're so fortunate to have them. We really are. And I learned so much throughout the day, and I'm really very proud of everything that they're doing. And some of these businesses are, once people retire, they're just not going to exist. And they're quite remarkable. So anyway, it was a great day yesterday, but thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak on the liaison report? Is there anyone who wishes to speak on the miscellaneous? I do have something. On the side entrance, you'll find a memo from the Rotterdam Police Department with Halloween coming up. It is going to be celebrated on Thursday, October 31st, from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. The Rotterdam Police is once again asking parents to cooperate by having their children off the street by 8. And there's also safety tips as far as making sure your children are wearing either light or reflective clothing, and short enough that there's no tripping. So anybody who wants to grab one, I'm assuming that we will post this on our website also, so you will have it there. Anybody else have miscellaneous? Okay, I would like to make one statement about one of the issues that was brought up tonight. The town is aware of the situation, and we will be monitoring this as it moves forward. And that's the statement from the town board. Okay. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Dodson, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second by Mrs. Bellucci, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.